Hey, it's your guy Tyrrell back with the interviews. In today's video, we're going to break down the key tactical themes in PSG's 2-1 Champions League quarterfinal win over Atalanta. When we break down the game, when we do look at the board, we have Atalanta in more of a 3-4-1-2, and we end up seeing PSG in a 4-3-3 with Icardi and Sarabia up front. And the key talking point here was Neymar playing through the middle. First, we'll start with Atalanta's pressing, and they look to man-v-man mark higher up the pitch with Pašalić and Zapata stepping out to the center backs. They had Gozens and Hateboer stepping out into the path of those PSG fullbacks. And in that midfield zone, it was Papu Gomez sitting on Marquinhos and Freuler and Darun stepping out into the path of Ander Herrera and Idrissa Gueye. That did leave Atalanta 3v3 at the back. And although PSG didn't look to play through Atalanta's man-marking press, what they ended up doing was that they used Keylor Navas as their distributor from deeper positions, and they looked to play balls over that press into the front three. When they looked to play balls out to Icardi and Sarabia, they did struggle to get the better of Toloi and Jim City. And although there were occasions where they were able to link play with their midfield, the key tactical theme in this game was Keylor Navas playing long balls into the path of Neymar, dropping into that midfield zone to pull out Caldara before PSG were able to push forward on the break. And although it may seem like it was simple Route 1 football, there was also the fact that Herrera and Idrissa Gueye were dropping off into those midfield zones to pull out Darun and Freuler, and then that leaves a big gap in that midfield zone for Neymar to drop into to receive the ball and link play with his teammates. There was a time where we ended up seeing Navas clip the ball into the path of Neymar, and he was able to flick the ball into Icardi, get it back, and then break free on goal in a 1v1 situation, and that's when he should have put PSG up 1-0. There was a time where Bernat slid the ball across Darun and Sarabia for Neymar, dragging out Caldara, and he ended up dropping the ball off to Herrera, who then slid the ball into that left channel for Neymar running across the Atalanta center back. Neymar was able to break free into the Atalanta box, but rather than shooting, he slid the ball across the 6-yard box, but Icardi never made the run for the tap-in. We can look to Herrera simply clearing his lines and clipping the ball out to Neymar, dragging out Caldara, and linking play with Sarabia, who was able to push forward into Atalanta's half, and he ended up dropping the ball back to Neymar, who cut across Darun and slid the ball across Toloi for Sarabia in left half space, but his pullback was poor. And even if we look to one final example, Idrissa Gueye is holding off Toloi and he squares it to Herrera, and once again Herrera locates Neymar dropping off Caldara to receive the ball freely, and as he turns, he slides the ball across Pašalić covering for Toloi's positioning, and he plays in Sarabia free down that left channel. But once again, when a PSG attacker gets into a good position in that left half space, he slides it across the 6-yard box, but Icardi doesn't attack it. Meanwhile, from a defensive perspective, PSG didn't really encounter many issues with this Atalanta attack, because when you look to how they were looking to push forward, what you end up seeing was that you have Zapata ahead of those two center backs, but often looking to shift out in towards that left channel to get on the ball. But Thiago Silva, for the most part of that game, did a very good job of ensuring that he couldn't get on the ball. And if he dropped off a bit deeper, then Kimpembe would step towards him. What you also ended up seeing was that Papu Gomez wasn't allowed to freely drop into pockets of space or into deeper midfield zones to get on the ball. Centrally, Marquinhos would step towards him, but if he looked to shift out into those wider areas into the channels, then you would see Herrera or Idrissa Gueye step forward to close him down. And then with Pašalić, he was often dropping off deeper away from Kimpembe to get on the ball. And what you ended up seeing when Pašalić dropped off into those deeper zones was that he was closed down by Idrissa Gueye, Marquinhos, or even Kimpembe stepping forward if he felt like he could win the ball. So the only other factor in which Atalanta looked to pose somewhat of a threat attacking-wise was when they had the wider center backs pushing forward and Sarabia and Icardi weren't looking to step out to close them down. Nevertheless, when you look to some of their better chances in that opening half, it stemmed through defensive lapses from PSG. You look to the time where Papu Gomez simply ran off Marquinhos to break towards the box, and then he fired a tame effort at Keylor Navas. And then the time when you had Papu Gomez dropping ahead of Herrera, and he was closed down with Marquinhos even stepping into his path. But what happened there was that Hateboer ran off Juan Bernat towards the back post. Papu Gomez found him, but he nodded his effort into the ground, and Keylor Navas was able to push it away. And while Atalanta did benefit from good fortune in their opening goal, what we ended up seeing there was that on two separate occasions, Tolói's involvement was vital. First, it was when he received the square ball from Darun to push forward, and again, no Sarabia, Neymar, or Icardi stepping into his path, and he was able to split Idrissa Gueye and Marquinhos to find Zapata dropping off Kimpembe. And then prior to Pašalić getting onto the loose ball in towards that right half space, it was Tolói's movement towards the box that pulled out Juan Bernat and then left Pašalić free in that box to curl his effort beyond Keylor Navas. Ultimately, the game shifted when Mbappe did replace Sarabia, and we ended up seeing Palomino and Malinovsky come on, with Papu Gomez in particular leaving the game. What we ended up seeing from PSG with Mbappe on the pitch was that now they had a legitimate option to that left-hand side, so when they would play balls out to Mbappe with Bernat pushing forward, that meant that Mbappe would now be in 1v1 situations against Tolói. Mbappe took Hateboer and Tolói out of the game with a simple back heel. There was a time where Bernat played the ball into the path of Mbappe and he simply dummied it to take Tolói out of the game and then break down that left channel, but his pullback for Neymar was short. And Mbappe's presence even got Tolói booked with a simple ball back into the path of Bernat, and as he looked to run beyond Tolói, Tolói blocked him off. Nevertheless, this was still about Mbappe and Neymar. Initially, you have Paredes sliding the ball across Caldara for Mbappe, and Mbappe breaks free into that left half space, but he only fires a tame effort at the keeper. Shortly after that, you witness Marquinhos splitting Freuler and Malinovsky to find Neymar between the lines, and he's able to cut across Caldara and run at Tolói, but again, firing a tame effort at the goalkeeper. Still, it was Neymar involved in both goals that ended up seeing PSG complete their second half comeback. First, it was Choupo-Moting getting across Tolói, clipping the ball over Hateboer and Palomino to fall into the path of Neymar, who brings the ball down with his thigh and fires a low cross through the box that ends up seeing Marquinhos level the game. And if we look to the build-up to the winner, it's Neymar at the edge of the box, finding a ball beyond Freuler and Palomino for Mbappe breaking into left half space, and he was able to combine with Choupo-Moting that helped PSG win the game. So as you could see here, Neymar was the key man of the night, and he was the reason why PSG are advancing to the semi-final. In the first half, he allowed PSG to bypass that Atalanta press, and although his finishing was poor, he still got his teammates into good positions, and they should have maximized on those chances as well. And in the second half, once they placed a reliable attacking option out in those wider areas, specifically Mbappe, PSG continued to push back that Atalanta backline, and while Thomas Tuchel does deserve credit for ensuring that Atalanta's key attacking players were unable to influence the game, it was Neymar who consistently bypassed players with his dribbling, consistently placed his teammates into good attacking zones, and ultimately was the creator for both goals that helped PSG complete the comeback. Hi everybody, thanks for watching, and subscribe here for your latest tactical analysis and daily commentary on the InnerViews show. And if that wasn't enough, don't forget you could find more organic, unfiltered soccer/football analysis on the InnerViews podcast, the best soccer/football podcast in the world, available on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, and any Android apps on your Android devices.